Hey YouTube, what's up, Chuck? So this is my second time trying to record this because there's yellow jackets flying around and they're scaring me. So we're just gonna try to really quickly get out some thoughts in just one shot and be done with it. So if you have never heard of the YouTube channel, The Functional Melancholic, I would highly recommend you check out his videos. He has a very poetic way of phrasing things and of talking about just what it's like living under current circumstances from points of view like the economy and how expensive everything is to how hopeless I think a lot of people are feeling these days. If you need someone who gets it, and if you want to listen to someone who's really good at just, waxing and waning poetic, with brilliant prose, I really think you need to go check out The Functional Melancholic. I love his channel. I can't always watch them because they sometimes it's just a little too real. Sometimes it's just a little too real. But really and truly, go check out his channel. I was watching a video, the latest one that he's uploaded, and he made a comment about how, there are fractures in American society. And the video is titled something like The Decline of America, which is kind of a dramatic title, all things considered, but at the same time, it doesn't feel dramatic given the current state of things. So one thing that he really said was that voting in America is like dropping in a suggestion in a suggestion box, and your choices are red versus blue, and those are akin to two different football teams that are owned by the same mega corporation. So it's all about the illusion of choice. And those are not his ideas. It's borrowed from other philosophy, but he has a great way of taking bits and pieces of other things and using them as reference to make his points. And he's a lot more well-spoken than I am. So if you found me, I'm sure you can find him, but he's great. Definitely go check out that channel. But it got me thinking as well. And earlier this week, or actually last week, I had a conversation with someone who's pretty high up in the organization I work for. I was interviewing them for an article that I'm writing, and we were talking about change and leadership and just things like that. And a comment that he made to me was the importance of the dissenter. And I asked him, I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, how is dissent important? Like, how is that important when you're bringing about change? And he goes, well, think about it. He's like, the dissenter is the person who has been doing this work the same way since the beginning of time. They know the ins and outs. They know all the things that can go wrong, and they know the ways to be the most efficient to get that process done. And they know the impact of that process, and they value the work, right? So when you try to change the process or the work or the way that things are done, the people that have done it the longest, who are dissenters, are the ones that see the gaps. They see the gaps, they see the shortcomings. And if you don't listen to these people, you are missing out on vital information that can help you with oversights that overly optimistic people are going to skip right over. And this can lead to an organization saving a lot of money if they take into consideration what the dissenter has to say. Now, a dissenter is a person who may be under certain black and white ways of thinking is the person who's pessimistic. If the person who's gung-ho about it is the optimist, the dissenter is the pessimist, right? So they're saying it's not going to work because of A, B, C, and D. I try to think about certain things in life, such as the prevalence of pessimism as a school of thought amongst human beings. Why is that something that even exists? Why and where does pessimism come from? Where does it really come from? And why are so many people pessimistic? What is the evolutionary advantage to being pessimistic? Well, it's one and the same with being a dissenter. A pessimist is somebody who's not overly optimistic, meaning they're not idealistic. They are able to see the realistic ways that something's going to go down, the outcomes of something, but they're more focused on the negative outcome. And I think that this has to do with survival, them, worrying about worst case scenario more so than best case scenario. People such as myself that have trauma and poor mental health in their background are more likely to experience being pessimistic a lot of the times, as opposed to people that haven't gone through as much. They're less likely to be pessimistic. And the reason for this is because if you've had to live through some really trying periods in life, you know how ugly and dark things can get. So when something looks rickety or unsure, your mind has been more trained to look at it from a worst case probability. You know what's going to happen. It's going to be the worst thing that could happen. That's the pessimist viewpoint. And they have a place in this world. And it's not a bad word to be a pessimist, just as it's not a bad thing to be a dissenter either. You have a place in this world. So if you feel like you are at odds with all of the things that are happening, if you feel unsettled by this current administration here in America, and also just worldwide, wherever you are, if you feel like you need to sound the alarms and you need to speak up because maybe there's people in your life, in your corner, that aren't seeing what you're seeing, it's by design that you're doing that. You are meant to do that. Some of us are meant to be the dissenter. We are meant to speak up, right? If you're, fighting a great big beast, you and all your caveman buddies, and you don't see that he's got another beast behind him ready to take you and your tribe out. If you don't see that, and if no one sounds that alarm, you're all goners. So the dissenter would be the one who goes against the grain, who stops fighting and says, hey, look at that over there. We should probably run and bring more enforcements if we're going to take down this and that, right? Versus just being like, no, we can do it. We're going to win. We're going to be okay. That's blind optimism, which can also be deadly. And I think that blind optimism in that instance is very similar to what we in, common culture call toxic positivity. I think that's the same thing. So a lot of people that engage in the school of thought of being, toxic positive are people that they have no tolerance for dissenting opinions. They can't tolerate it because of the fear that it could be true. It's too hard for them to hear. And that doesn't mean that the person who is dissenting should not speak. It just means they should find a more willing audience of people that can actually tolerate hearing what they're going to say. If someone's dedicated to being, in that toxic, positive mental headspace, that's where they're going to be. And it's not your job to convince or to change people. And I think for me, that's probably one of the hardest lessons to learn. Is like you can't influence everybody. But there are people that you'll meet that are similar to yourself, that sense the same things you're sensing. They might put it in different words and they might have different understandings and conclusions of it, but the feeling is the same. And it's that feeling that matters. So if you find yourself feeling this low humdrum static in the back of your mind about where all of this is going, if you find yourself concerned about the economy or, just the current state of the world, climate change, this country, if you find yourself worried about those things at all, and you're like, I don't know about this, like it kind of seems like we're all doing pointless work and for what, then you're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. And we need your dissent. We need your opinions. We need you to take your observations, your feelings, your interpretations of what's happening, and we need you to tell other people in your life about it. Be outspoken. It is better to speak and to be misunderstood than to never speak at all and not find any alignment with anyone. So, anyway, that is all I had to say today. Dissenting is important. Speaking up is important. We should speak freely while we still have free speech, right? we gotta use it while we got it, y'all. Because I don't think we're gonna have it for long. Anyway, a little bit cheeky, but that's just me. It is Labor Day weekend. It is Monday. Very humid and sticky weather day out here. I hope you guys watching have a good day or night, whatever time of day it is. I hope that you take time for yourself. I hope that if you feel yourself having negative emotions of any sort, that you are not dismissive of them, no matter what they are or what it's in regards to. I hope that you listen to those things, because I think even the inner dissenter within all of us, that inner discomfort, I think that's really important for us to acknowledge and to listen to. So anyway, that's all I got for you. Thank you for listening to me today. Please go check out the Functional Melancholic. He doesn't know that I'm promoting his channel. He has no idea who I am, and that's okay. This is like, do you remember back in like old school YouTube days whenever like tagging videos was like a thing? This is kind of in the vein of that, I guess. I don't know if that's still a thing. Can you actually do that? I have no idea. Anyway, yeah, thank you for listening. My name is Kai. This is the Philosophikai channel. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm doing it well. I'll talk to you later. Bye.